Hello, how are you?
I'm very well. Can I just give a shout out to my cousin Robert? He's watching.
Oh my goodness.
I just
Robert,
noticed
how
that.
are you? Shout out to Robert. I don't see, where is he watching?
It says he's watching. I see him watching.
Oh, awesome, awesome. All right,
He's on
Robert, do us
YouTube.
a favor, share the video. So don't get selfish, Robert. Share the video to other people so some other people can watch too. Yeah. So thank you so much, Chris, for accepting to come and talk to us.
Of
This
course.
is a series we started because we noticed that a lot of people, especially within the African community, that they
Mhm.
try to start something and then they don't succeed, and we keep
Mhm.
wondering why. And then just at the point where you're beginning to give up, you look around and you actually see that there's some people who are making it, and you're excited and you're encouraged. So we want to these people and find out how was it? How did they overcome those obstacles that people have encountered and has shattered their dreams? So that's why we're doing this
Mhm.
program. And you also notice that we seem to have we're biased towards women. And somebody said,
Mhm.
Chidi, why is it that you've just been featuring women? And the reason is because, of course, so many businesses are owned by men, 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 men. I know, especially so when you see a woman who has to
Uh-huh.
do with so much, and yet they're able to put together a business and they're running the business and it's
Mhm.
happening, that kind of attracts we're attracted to that. It draws our attention and we want to know how you're able to combine all of these things. But let me start at the place to start. Chris, if for someone who doesn't know you, can you start
Uh-huh.
by telling us who is Chris? Let us know who you are.
Okay.
So go ahead. Tell us who is Chris.
Okay, so my name is Dr. Kris. I'm Dr. Kris Wachira. My doctorate is in clinical research, and my primary focus is in neurosciences. And so clinical research, actually, my sort of scientific background is what got me into winemaking. So I have a 9 to 5, which is clinical research, and then I have the 5 to 9, which is winemaking. And I am a mother. I have a daughter who's a second year in college. I am a sister to a lot of sisters, and I think a couple of them are online right now, both here in the US and in Kenya. And a lot of girlfriends that I've grown up with that have known me since I was a little girl, before I was relevant, as I like to say. I have two blood siblings who are both my younger brothers. Um, I am a fiance, just got recently engaged. Um, yeah, that's about me in a nutshell. I'm very, I was raised by women, and I grew up around a lot of really strong-minded women. So I don't know how to do, I don't know how to function otherwise.
Okay. So why Wachira wines? What's the meaning of Wachira? Let's start with that. What's the meaning of Wachira and why wines?
So okay, so Wachira is my family name, is my father's name.
Okay.
And it's a name that's been passed down for generations. It in translation, it's a Kikuyu name. In translation, it means one who deals with cases, so like a judge or an attorney. And so for us, we find it actually very it's almost spiritual that now we're dealing with cases of wine. So I almost believe that my being in the wine industry was sort of predetermined in my stars, like a long time ago. Why wines? So I've been a consumer of wines for a long time. I love wine tasting, done a lot of trips. So I live in California, which is one of the best wine regions in the world, as far as I'm concerned. So I done a lot of wine tastings, love wine from the consumer perspective. Then a couple of years ago, a few girlfriends of mine and I traveled to Kenya, which is my birth country. And we went out to dinner. and I wanted to have some California wine. And back then, they did not have any California wine in the restaurant where we went out to dinner. And so being in sort of clinical research and dealing with data and analytics and variations and identifying gaps, I identified a gap in that industry. And so when I came back to the States from Kenya, I sort of had a new American dream. I wanted to craft a wine that sort of married both my Kenyan heritage and my love for Californian wines. So I spoke with my fiance, and he's very supportive. He's one of those men who has my back no matter what. And so he loved the idea, and we did our research. We started talking to families who've been in winemaking for a really long time, sort of learned the behind the scenes of how it's done, what goes into it, sort of the business aspect of it as well. And here we are.
Wow. So now, to the main thing that people want to hear, what are the challenges that you encountered trying to go into this wine from conception, from just thinking about it? What are those moments? What are those highlights that those points where you would have just given up, that was enough to make you stop? Can you highlight on those milestones?
Right. So my first thing is sort of from the conception, right? So it's almost, I grew up in Kenya, in central Kenya. I did not have any vineyards around me. So the wines that I've tasted were in church during communion. So it's such a far-fetched idea for this random Kenyan girl from the middle of the country to start thinking about, okay, I'm gonna craft wines. But it's just sort of the one thing I want to highlight is sort of believing in that dream, right? No matter how ridiculous it sounds to everybody else around you, like stand firm, stand strong in your dream, right? And believe in it. And then make sure you do your groundwork, do your research. So figure out, what the market wants, what the market is asking for, and sort of figure out the legalities of going into or pursuing your dream, right? So for us, there are a lot of licensing requirements. There are a lot of regulations around alcohol, both from the federal government and the state government. So making sure you do your homework, get all those things aligned. So that was one of my biggest hurdles. I almost quit a couple of times because the asks are it's just too many, and you have to work with multiple departments in both the state and federal government that are not always aligned, that do not speak to each other. And so there's a lot of back and forth, and I had to take time off of work to make some of those appointments, to apply for licensing and all that good stuff. So we have so once that's done, once you've gotten your legal stuff done, you've believed in your dream, you've gotten your history and your background done, you've done your homework, then now you have to start when it comes to the wine industry. So you have to figure out, am I going to be have a winery, so buy vines, plant my own vines, or am I going to source the grapes, which is what I ended up doing. So for me, sourcing grapes was a lot more economically viable than starting off with a winery, like buying land with vines on it. So I did that. And I sourced grapes from, so my very first pass, that's the other challenge. My very fast pass was in, we used grapes only from one wine region. The flavor profile for the wines that I wanted was, I wanted something what I call the Kenyan. I wanted a Californian wine with a Kenyan accent. And my very first pass did not meet that requirement. It did not meet the flavor profile.
Did you say Californian wine with a Kenyan accent?
Absolutely. That's what my wines are.
Explain, please. Does the wine speak like?
So I will show you. Let me show you first. I can show you a couple. So I'll give you an example. This is my Chardonnay.
Okay.
So you're right, and all of my wines have an animal on them. One of the big fives. So this is the
Oh,
Cabernet,
okay.
the Cabernet Sauvignon. I have 5 different varietals. So I take folks on what I call a wine safari. That's my
Mm.
Zinfandel, which is the elephant in the
Mm.
safari.
Okay.
This is the Muscat. It's a leopard in the safari. It's also the official wine of Wakanda,
Oh,
in
wow.
my opinion. In my opinion. And then finally, I have the lion of the safari, which is the sparkling white. So again, they're Californian wines with a Kenyan accent. One, because the flavor profiles are very Kenyan centric. And what I mean by that is they're very light, very fruit forward, using really high quality grapes that makes the wines very easily consumable. You do not have to have a steak with a glass of wine. You can actually have, you can enjoy the Cabernet Sauvignon without a steak.
Really? Oh,
Yeah,
that's interesting. How about
absolutely.
uh did you have any gender issues, in this?
Absolutely.
So tell me about it.
So absolutely. So the wine industry is very male centric, and it's also very white male centric. So a
Okay.
lot of families that have been in this industry for a long time have been in generations are white, and that's just how it is. And so
Mhm.
being, for one, a woman and a woman of color trying to break into the industry, I don't have or I did not have as many resources available to me or within the industry. So
Mm.
like I would go to talk to, say, an organization, to a bank, or trying to seek like a startup loan or anything like that. I was the demands, the asks for me were almost impossible to meet, because they wanted to have so you go to ask for a startup loan or some startup funding, and they want you to have at least 2 years of business practice. So if I had 2 years of business in business, I'd have my own money. I wouldn't be over here asking
Exactly.
for startup money.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
what I ended up doing is I pulled in my savings. So this
Mhm.
company is 100% woman
Wow.
owned. Yeah, I've
Wow.
self-funded up to right to where we are. So so I had, that was one of the things that I had to navigate. And then the other thing too is the expectation that I will fail.
Hmm.
And so when I would speak, I would talk to people, and these are folks who've been in the industry for a while. They'll be, oh, that's really nice. You want to craft a Californian wine with a Kenyan accent? That's very nice. Sort of pat you on the head, little kiss on the forehead, like, oh yeah, you poor
Yeah.
thing, you. This is good. We'll
Yeah.
see how long this fad lasts, but here we are. It's been 4 years
Yeah.
now, and we're rolling. We're still rolling. And
Awesome. Awesome.
I also said the third last thing, the last thing that I sort of identified in the industry was folks did not expect the wines to be good. And I think that was partly one because it had the African, sort of the Kenyan twist to it. So every time we'd do a tasting, folks would walk into it like, oh, let me see, I'm not sure. But then they were tasting it, and every single time, folks are like, wow. Like our Chardonnay right now is like one of, the fastest moving products we have. And folks are just super impressed by just the balance of notes in it.
Wow. That is so awesome. Um,
Yes.
so I'm blown away because the reason is because I work in our community. I worked with certain people at different levels, and I've seen frustration. But hearing you talk about your challenges and how you were able to deal with them, that is what this program is all about. Now
Mm.
let's move over to how do people order these wines? Do you make, I know some parties you come and you see people's names on the wines and all of that, and
Mm-hmm.
do you do such things? But before we even go to that, on a
Right.
general note, how do you know a good wine from a bad wine? So that when people taste your wine, they will know what they're
Right.
looking for.
Right. So this is the thing. So I have a significant respect for folks in the industry who are sommeliers, who are wine experts, who've actually gone to school, studied the craft, the wine crafting because you have universities that have programs for this. And so I deeply respect those folks. Let me start there. What I
But
want to say is wine, for me personally, wine tasting is a very personal experience, right? So I like wines that take me somewhere. Like when I taste a wine, I want to connect with something. I want it to be about the experience. And that's what I try to craft. So I wanted wines that reminded me, for example, the Muscat. This bottle right here. This bottle reminds me of times, moments that I've spent with my girlfriends in Nairobi. They know themselves. The
hope they are
deep
watching.
bellied
Hope they are
laughter,
watching.
the
If they are
fun, the
watching, give us
laughter,
a
the
thumbs up.
sisterhood. I'm sorry.
If they are watching, give us a thumbs up. I hope some of them are watching now.
Right. It's the laughter, the fun, the joy, just that's what that brings to me. The Zinfandel reminds me of my grandmother's cooking. And it pairs very well with stews, lamb stew, goat stew, those kind of stews. So for me, I love wines that recreate memories or recreate memories for me when I taste them. So a lot of folks will tell you, if you taste our Cabernet Sauvignon, it takes you, you will get notes of, some folks are like, you will get peppery notes, or some, say a Chardonnay, they'll tell you you'll taste creme brulee. And I have incorporated some of those notes in the back of my bottles. But
But
if
let me
you've never tasted, if you've never had a creme brulee, how can it invoke a creme brulee note?
exactly. I
There's
was going to
no
say
way.
that. Yeah,
Right.
because like, so the question is this: because of your scientific background and your mastery of chemicals, and is there a connection between what you do with these wines and then our taste buds? You know, like I know they are. So how is it?
Absolutely. So that's my key thing, is it's the tasting is personal. It invokes certain memories to you. And I when I do a tasting, a Wachira wine safari tasting, I typically will not tell people what notes they'll find in the wine. I want you to tell me what experience you have with the wine. I want you to tell me what flavor profiles you pull out of the wine, what memories it creates for you, what it invokes in your memory. That's what I want you to share with me. I want the wine safari. I like our wine safaris to be deeply personal, and so the experiences with our wines is very, very subjective. So I cannot tell you what is considered a great wine versus not a great wine, because I have bought a $2.99 wine at our local grocery store or at Safeway, and I've enjoyed it. I've gone to a winery where they're selling $100 per bottle. We've also tasted a $1,000 bottle of Cabernet Sauvignon. It was great, but it just brings it invokes different memories. It pulls different notes based on my profile, on my
Yeah.
palate memory. So it's very different. It's very subjective.
Okay, let me ask one other question before we go to how people will get your wine.
Right.
What is it that differentiates one wine from the other in terms of price tag? What makes wine very expensive? On a general note, I don't know so much about wine, I apologize, but I've
Right.
heard people talk about wine that is mature, wine that has stayed over a long time.
Right.
It's or what else makes it?
So typically the regions where you get the wines from, that has been an indicator of pricing. So you'll get wines that are sort of French wines from the sort of the Bordeaux area, and they tend to be a little more pricey. The different the side of the hill, because again, it's about terroir, it's about where the vines are planted, it's about the soil, the minerality in the soil. And so the different locations will have different, quote unquote, quality of wine. And so that will affect the price, will impact the pricing. The other thing too is the age. You did mention that. So the aging of the wine also sometimes impacts the pricing of the wines. So you'll find wines that have been barreled for, say, 18 months for most of the reds, anywhere between 18 months to say about 24 months. And then they've been bottled, so they've been aged in the barrels for that long, and then they've been bottled for, say, another 5 years after that. So they're really, really heavy, very bold, have a lot of tannins in them. So some of those wines tend to be, again, super pricey. And again,
So
it also depends on what winery they came from.
okay, so for a company like yours,
Mm-hmm.
you're not able to make those highly priced wines now because you've been around for so long.
Right. So we've for one, we've not aged our wines that long, and then we're choosing not to have that flavor profile. So again, like a Cabernet, our Cab Sauv is only aged for 8 months, and we do that in neutral American oak, and we do that on purpose because we want to maintain sort of that light fruit forwardness that allows you to have a glass of Cabernet without a steak when you come home from work, right?
Oh,
So our Cabernet, because again, it's young, it's bottled very young. It's only aged 8 months in the barrel. It's one of those wines that's very great if you put in your cellar. Like you can enjoy this bottle of wine 5 years from now, and we'll have that sort of bold, heavy tannin, sort of super European boldness that folks like in a Cab Sauv.
so in essence, if somebody's trying to go into the business, they don't have
Yeah.
to get worried about their wine stay, because I'm thinking, I thought all wines had to stay for 10 years before you can start selling them.
No, they don't. No, they don't. Again, it's and that's part of the reason why folks were patting me on the head and giving me those soft kisses on the forehead, saying, "Oh, we'll see how long you survive." It's because there's been that expectation in the industry, and it's been broadly pushed out there that wines like the reds have to be bold and they have to have a lot of tannins. And
Yeah,
no, they don't.
good, good.
Again, wine is very subjective.
Exactly. So, how do people get to your wine? How do they do they order online? Do you have outlets? How do people get? Because right now, I'm sure a lot of people are already like sort of waiting for the wine.
So right now we are online. We are on wachirawines.com. All our products are online. We retail online. We are able to export around the world. We ship across the US. We also have, if you're local to our we are in the Bay Area, in the California Bay Area. So if you're local, we're in a lot of bars, lounges, and restaurants in the Oakland, San Francisco, San Jose area. So if you're local, you can get our wines in a lot of different places, and we have all those locations listed on our website. And then we also do a lot of pop-up events. So we're going to be doing pop-up events around the country as well. So we're taking the game around the country. So we'll very likely be doing a pop-up in New York. We're looking at Atlanta, and we're going to be in LA as well. So we're taking the wines around the world.
When are you
We'll be
coming
in
to
DC. When am I coming to Kenya? Oh,
Toronto?
where?
Toronto. When are you coming to Toronto?
To Toronto?
Yeah,
Well, if send me an invitation, I'll come.
you
Yeah,
got it.
well, we will come.
Toronto
I
has
have
great.
a very supportive team that rolls with me.
Okay, good, good, good. Now, has it come across in your mind about doing something back in Kenya? Like I keep wondering, something about Africa, there's something about, I know, can we grow grapes in Kenya? Because I'm thinking if we could grow grapes in Kenya, um, they'll probably be somehow exotic because of the weather, because of how Africa has something that it does to anything that is grown there. Have you thought about it, and that people would want to have a taste of something that comes from Africa?
Right. I mean, I would absolutely love to. There is, my understanding is right now there may be about 3 families that are exploring in Kenya. You can do the feasibility studies. I mean, I don't see why not. I think for us right now is because we sort of started this company here in the States. We are actually currently working with the U.S. Department of Commerce. We are exploring taking the company to Africa, to Kenya, and to Rwanda. So looking at how we are going to do that, how we're going to operationalize it. So it sort of is still in the works.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So generally, I want you to talk to women, talk to men, talk to anybody who, especially those in the diaspora, who have been trying one thing or the other, or who might even be looking at this wine business. But generally, any business they want to do here, and they are facing challenges, and they are at the verge of giving up. So I'm just going to give you time to talk to them and kind of encourage them, um, to know that if you can do it, they too can do it.
Right. So, I mean, I would implore you, if you're thinking about it, if you're on the verge of doing this, it's especially my women. I'm such a strong feminist. My women folk out there, don't give up. Do not give up. There's so many some of the way these sort of entrepreneur structure is set up. It's almost it's almost like sometimes I feel like it's working for you to fail. Sometimes I do feel that way, honestly, because the challenges are massive. And if just believe in yourself, believe in your dream, right? And just also realize that if you don't stand in your truth, if you don't stand in your dream, you can't, nobody else will believe in it. So you have to believe, you have to stand in it. You're the best advocate for whatever it is that you want to do, right? So keep pushing, do not give up. I'm online. I respond to folks' messages like quite a bit. I think I spend quite a bit of time on social media just responding to people. If you have a question, ask me. I'm happy to share. I'm happy to guide. We need more people of color in this industry. We definitely need more women. It would be great to have peers that I can brainstorm with, that I can share challenges, that we can uplift each other.
And let me make a comment here that I ran into you. I never knew about you. I never knew about the company, and I was in my little corner of a social media group in Toronto, and somebody posts something and says, "Oh, I ran into this person and blah 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 blah," and that's how I got to know about you and your company. What I'm trying to say is that there are also fallouts from just venturing to what you have ventured into. It's not just about the wine. You become a role model. You become something that people look up to and they aspire to. So you're playing so many roles just by venturing in this business. You might not even know how you're influencing people. In these days where we have very few role models, I mean, the role models we have now, apologies to ladies, but ladies who just sit down from morning to night and show how many makeups and how many layers of powder they have on their face, and like it's annoying. That's not, I'm not saying you cannot be a role model doing that. I mean, there are people who that's their gift in cosmetics and looking good, but it's not just what it's all about. It's not just about the dress you put outside, the wig you have on your head. No, no, no. We need role models like you. We need people who can stand out and say, look, I'm doing this thing the right way. No, no, I'm not cutting any corners. I'm doing my due diligence. I'm well studied. I didn't even know you're a doctor. I just heard it for the first time in the program. So you are the kind of people that we want. And I want to thank you for really going all the way out to take the bull by the horn and prove that what men can do, women can do better. You're just
Thank you so much for that, Chidi. I really do appreciate it. And I appreciate your platform, and I'm so grateful that you did reach out and we were able to make this connection. It's been great. It's been great.
Thank you so much. And then I keep telling people I've grown up just like you, surrounded by women who are very powerful. My mother, for one, was a very tough, powerful woman, an entrepreneur, and she just kept on banging it in my head. Chidi, get up, do this, do that. You have to. So she was that kind of person, and I was blessed to marry a wife who is always on her toes and doing this and saying we should do this, we should do that. She's in the background there doing the typing, doing all of this. So it's
Wow.
it's exciting, it's encouraging, and it gives me hope, not just for the African community, for the Black American community, for women, for people who are marginalized, for people who have this stereotype notion about you. You already come into the place a failure. They already have this seal on you. She's gonna fail. He's gonna fail. So it's a huge glass barrier that you arrive with. You arrive with this heavy load. Others that you are doing this thing with, they already have a soft landing. But you come with this heavy load and you have to break that barrier. And to see that someone like you has broken that barrier, it's a big encouragement to us. Thank you so much, Kris. We're going to call you another time. And I'm going to, why don't you, have you ever thought about giving speeches, giving talks where you can talk to people? Have you ever thought about that?
I'm sorry, Chidi. I just had an interruption. So,
okay, sorry.
Ask me the question again. I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay, have you ever thought about organizing like a talk, like talking to people?
I did think about it, and one of my good girlfriends that lives here in Sacramento, she and I were sort of brainstorming this a little while ago, because we wanted to have sort of a platform where you have women from different backgrounds, right, who've sort of quote unquote made it or succeeded in the United States, so folks can share not just their successes, but the journey. Because I think, yeah, because when people see you at the end, they think, oh, your life is great, this, and they look at themselves and they think, oh, I don't think I can do that. I don't. But you need, if you don't understand the journey. I came to this country with $500, to be honest. Like that's it. That's it. And I built myself from
Kris, sorry, that's the one I forgot to ask you about. I always want people share with us just a little bit about your early days in America, because people think everybody that made it just arrived with a silver spoon in their mouth. So just share something about the first time you arrived and the challenges you had.
It was really tough, and I had so one of the things that sort of compounded is, for one, so I didn't come like with a wealth of funding or resources, right? So I had to build my way up. I arrived here, I came with $500 and a broken heel, because one of my shoes actually broke in Amsterdam, but I did not take that shoe off. I limped my way to this damn country. So I worked my way through school. I put myself through school, through community college. That's where I started my schooling, and then on through the universities. And I got recruited at Stanford, and I've been at Stanford ever since. I also had the sort of, I had my daughter very young. So I had my daughter within a year of arriving in this country. So I wasn't, it was sort of a double whammy for me, being a single mother and raising this child and pushing myself through school. So it was, but then again, what I say is I have the strength of my ancestors in me. I was raised by some very, very strong women. And I went to an all-girl high school, shout out to Cadet, that those nuns did not play. So we grew up very, very, very focused, very driven, and knowing that, you have to rely within the strength within you. When all else seems to be crumbling around you, when everything seems to be against you, you rely within that core strength that you have instilled in you. And so that's what has seen me through. It's not easy, I can tell you that. It's not been a party, but you have to surge through. You have to keep pushing.
So did you have to do, tell us one of the jobs that you're not very, did you have to do a job when you came here the first time that is like, oh my goodness, I never believed that.
Yeah, absolutely. When I was going through my school, like because I had classes during the day, and I had a little girl, I had a baby, and I worked the night shift. So I had never worked the night shift in my life. So I would work the night shift. I would start at like 7 in the evening, have a shift until like midnight, and then work from midnight through the morning, through 6 in the morning. and then come home, rush home, take a bus or the train home, take a shower, change, and go to class. Like that was my life for a really long time. It was not easy.
So
It was
how
not
many
easy.
hours of sleep did you have?
I say sleep is overrated. Because right, at some point you just make do. There are times when you have an hour of sleep that you have on the bus ride home or on the train ride home, and that's it. And you just keep pushing.
I'm very glad that I was able to make you bring this out, because a lot of people, the jobs they have now, they're working 9 to 5 and they're still complaining, and they sleep the rest of the other time. They have a 6 hour sleep and they're still complaining. Here you are telling us about the jobs that you had to do, and you still went to school and you still passed, and you have a doctorate degree even with all of that, because some people will actually use that as an excuse why they didn't make it in school. But here you are. You
Right. So
went.
I mean, I would encourage. I will not. What the one thing I don't do is, I don't judge people, because we all in, we've come from different backgrounds. We have different circumstances. People's limits, to withstand struggle or strife are very different. So I don't know. I'm one of those folks that I don't give up easily. And if I have a dream, I latch onto it like a dog with a bone. I will not let it go. I just keep surging. I just keep pushing.
Thank you so much, Wachira Wines, Kris, for coming on and making our day. Thank you very much. You are more than what we expected, and you did so great. And I know a lot of people are still going to reach out to you. Guys, don't forget wachirawines.com. And those of you in the California area, we have a lot of people in the US. You need to go to Wachira Wines. And if they come and they mention Worshipmedia, I'm sure they're going to get a discount from you.
You will get a free tasting. How about that? Come through.
All right. Thank you so
All
much,
right.
Kris. Thank you very,
Thank
very
you
much.
so much. Thank you so much, Chidi. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
Okay, guys, so that was Kris from Wachira Wines, and that was a very, 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 very encouraging. That is exactly the reason why you see us do what we do, because it's important that we talk to people who are making it. And I didn't even know half of what she shared with us today. And if I didn't have this interview with her, I would never have known that she has doctorate degree. I would never have known that she went through her initial struggles. I just thought that, oh, she's going to come and talk about the struggle she has trying to be in the industry. But you see, she still has a full-time job, and she does 9 to 5, and she does another 5 to 9. I remember the other day I was telling my wife, wow, there's so much you can do in a day, when we're trying to break down people who are employed in a regular job of 9 to 5, and they think it was a joke. Somebody was saying, oh, I don't get paid enough, and somebody from HR, he or she wanted a raise and went to HR, and HR sat them down and broke things down for them. And at the end of the day, they found out that they were not putting in as much as they thought they were putting into the company. So what did that tell us? Me and my wife figured out that there was so much time that you had available for yourself that you can turn into something that was income earning for you. So now we've heard Kris talk about how she does her regular 9 to 5, and she puts another 9 to 5 time period into her wine business, which is her own private entrepreneurial venture. If you've been blessed by this, drop us a comment. Tell us who, or if you have somebody that you think we should interview, please let us know and we'll reach out to that person. Thank you so much. Continue to share and like Worshipmedia. and continue to support us. So from Chidi and Erica in Toronto, Canada, this is me signing out. Bye-bye.